everybody, I'm Robert Donovan. Welcome to this episode of Tradecraft Solutions. According to the latest report on economic well-being done by the Federal Reserve in May of 2017, 41% of the U.S. population is currently living paycheck to paycheck with either no savings or unable to cover a $400 unexpected expense without borrowing from friends, putting it on credit cards, or simply having to go without paying it. That means they're literally living paycheck to paycheck, right on the edge, 1 hour's cut away, one injury, one illness, one blown tire, and a lot of these folks could wind up contemplating potential homelessness. And you combine that with having to spend the entire day on an employer schedule alongside people they may not like because they dread missing a mortgage or credit card payment, trading their time for money, their freedom for trinkets, and living for mere survival, all the while working their asses off to make bankers, landlords, and merchants rich. It is easy to feel utterly powerless in those circumstances, and is it any wonder that drugs like Prozac and Zoloft sell so very well? Well, 2 years ago, I decided to get off that paycheck-to-paycheck treadmill after a failed business deal with my sister-in-law that left me broke and bankrupt. I assumed that because she had run businesses successfully for others, she understood things like finance, interest, and gross versus net. True story there. Some years ago, I forget who called who, but we were on the phone talking. I was in San Diego working on my consulting business at the time. She calls me from Alaska, I think, and we're talking about the bed and breakfast that she was running up there at the time. This is the thing that I co-signed some loans for her with. She was telling me how much money she made. I don't even remember what the amount was, but I do remember asking, is that your gross or your net? And her response was, is net the bigger one? This is not a good thing to discover after you have co-signed $800,000 worth of loans for someone. Granted, I did not do proper due diligence because she was family. That was stupid, and I would have done that for anybody else. But $60,000 out of pocket, 10 years of fruitless negotiations with banks, and one bankruptcy later, I am older, wiser, and starting over. And the worst part of it all is that I had been an habitual saver and investor all my life prior to this. I should have known better. It will not happen again. So anyway, after the bankruptcy, I had to take stock. So what did I have? I had a part-time job, $14K a year. In fact, I make slightly more than that now with my consulting business reconstituted somewhat. At the time, I had the detritus of said consulting business that got basically blown to pieces in the 2008 Great Recession. And I had a used RV, which was good because I was living in that to avoid paying rent, which I couldn't have afforded anyway, but it did enable me to save money. That was actually a sort of salvation thing because I spent the next 3 months basking in the dopamine hit of watching my savings grow steadily for the first time in 10 years, and in the realization that I no longer had to constantly chase money. Believe me, that was the best I'd felt in years. So that's my prescription for financial depression. Spend less, earn more, get out and stay out of debt, and invest your way to post-subsistence with the savings, and then on to post-satiation. Just doing the first three did wonders for my mental state, let me just tell you. The nomadic lifestyle does, I admit, have a certain appeal to me, but creating a series of home bases that I can travel between actually appeals to me a little bit more. It would allow me to enjoy the nomadic lifestyle while having a place of my own to come back to, but I can't really do the nomadic part if I'm dependent on an employer for money. So the first step then is I need to figure out how much I need for what I call post-subsistence. It's what I call my Maslow minimum. Here's the Mr. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, after which that is named. Basically, it's a combination of the 4% rule after figuring out what my Maslow minimum number is. That's basically the minimum it would take for me to continue the lifestyle I'm at right now, bare survival needs, do it without having to work. First thing I did was I had to get a clear idea of my expenses. Now, I had been tracking my expenses for some time out of sheer necessity when the banks were on our tail all day. You can use mint.com, you can use Personal Capital, you can use a spreadsheet, a notebook and pencil and paper works fine, whatever you do. You need about 3 months worth of data. The main idea here is to make sure you can cover the physical and safety needs first. Food, not eating out, shelter, not floor space, clothes, not designer labels, transportation, not flashy new fully loaded car paid for with debt. Your basic, pure survival needs for food, shelter, transpo, clothes, that kind of stuff. Once you have those covered, let me tell you, that's one hell of a stress reducer. Just knowing that I've got that covered frees me to take a lot of risk. The next thing you want to do, because you don't want to be just surviving, scraping by, I wrote down the top 10 things that I enjoyed on a weekly basis that I could do within my means. Now, it turns out most of the things that I really enjoy doing don't take a lot of money. I like working out, I like walking, I like reading, I like writing, I like playing with Blender. So a lot of this stuff, the creative stuff, it's very enjoyable. It doesn't take a lot of money. And I use Linux as my operating system, so I don't even spend a lot on computer software. Knowing that you can cover those top 10 things, and you will be amazed what it doesn't bother you not to have. All right, so that right there is yet another way to improve one's mental outlook. I would strongly suggest. Once you figure out that, then you need to know what your minimum capital base to cover your Maslow minimum is going to be, and this is where the 4% rule comes in. I take the monthly times 480 rounded to the next or nearest 100K, whichever one you feel better with. The straight 4% rule is basically my $860 a month, which is my minimum survival needs number, times 300. That would be your straight 4% rule. That's $258,000 for me. That's a good emergencies only kind of basic benchmark number. The problem with using the straight 4% rule is that it does not take into account inflation, taxes, or sequence of returns risk. For those of you unfamiliar with that term, sequence of returns risk refers to the risk that you will start having. You will start living off your investments right before the start of a prolonged market decline. The only way to guard against that really is to overfund the account at the beginning. That's why I use 480 instead of 300 and round it to the nearest 100K or the next 100K. You can use either one. I kind of vacillate between the two. So for me, that works out to be between 400 and 500,000. If I can get that earning 7 to 10% a year, I've got a minimal income stream that can support me in this lifestyle, maybe a little higher indefinitely. So I got some work to do because my current net worth is a laughable $16,226. It's about 19, almost 20,000 if you include the RV, which I'm not because I can't sell it because it's where I'm living. So that's not getting included here. So I'm a mere $241,774 away from 258K, which is that first benchmark, $383,774 away from 400K. I want to get to the 258 by January 1st of 2023 and the 400K by January 1st of 2026. I find it's good to give myself a time horizon. My end-of-year goals for 2018 are to get my Forex account fully funded, which I've done. My Vanguard and Lending Club accounts will be done and funded by the end of this year, if not sooner. By December 31st of 2023, I want to have a futures account set up so I can hedge the stock index funds I'm going to be putting in the Vanguard account. And if that sounds a little different from the standard index investing buy hold strategy you hear from the likes of Mr. Money Mustache and all the various folks in the financial independent retire early communities who do straight, Warren Buffett index investing with very, very low spending lifestyles, I'm all for that. The problem is that unlike Mr. Money Mustache and Christy Chen and all of the people you see on the upcoming Playing with Fire documentary, I do not have $100,000 a year or the median income even coming in right now. So for me to talk about taking 9 years to save $1 million, that's completely out of the question for me. Those of us who make a very low income must also contemplate increasing our income in order to get to that post-subsistence number, that minimum financial independence number. That's what I'm going to be doing on this show. That's going to be the focus on this show, and we're going to do it using a long-short strategy because I think that works better and because it just basically is a matter of necessity given that I'm starting with such a low income. I hope you found this interesting or useful. This is going to be a little different personal finance and retire early kind of show. So stay tuned. We're gonna take a slightly different path here. Thanks a lot for watching if you've stayed with me this far. Welcome to any of my new subscribers, and thanks for sticking with me to all the ones who have been here along the way. As always, may the balance of your day be awesome.